Today I will be doing a review of the UniFi Switch 16 PoE Generation 2 network switch. I apologize in advance for the subpar camera work since I am recording this in my garage and have limited video recording equipment. Now I'm going to give a general overview and some of my experience with this switch. I picked up this switch for $300 off the official Ubiquiti website. If you compare that to their current switching offerings, it fits right in price-wise, but if you compare it to a Netgear switch with the same specs that goes for $180 for example, this switch can seem quite expensive. However, you must remember when considering those other options that you do not get the added benefit of the UniFi software, which is what ultimately drove me to buy this switch over others. You can also see that this switch is made entirely out of metal and stays true to Ubiquiti's design philosophy, which I think is great. I have also had extremely good reliability with this switch. This had over 2 months of uptime and hasn't given me any trouble since I first plugged it in. I've been able to configure it from my UniFi controller and haven't had any problems with it thus far. As you can see, the switch does take up one rack mount unit. This switch is quite a lot smaller than I first anticipated and is only 7.8 inches deep, which is almost 1 inch shallower than the Generation 1 switch. This is definitely beneficial for people like me who have smaller, less deep racks. As you can see on the left side of the switch, there's a 1.3 inch touchscreen display. Ubiquiti's website says it can display system information, errors, warnings, port statistics, PoE power, and throughput. So I'll go ahead and show you that right now. This is the throughput page, which is personally my favorite since this is the core switch for my network. I can see all the traffic that's going in and coming out of my network, which is live updating. This I find especially useful since the current version of the UniFi controller doesn't include any features like this. You can also see port by port statistics. So for example, you can see that this port is drawing 3.5 watts from our power over Ethernet, and up above are its individual throughput statistics. There's also information about the switch, such as the switch's IP address and the IP address of the UniFi controller, and you can change things like the screen's background color and the screen brightness. The user interface of the screen is very easy to navigate, and although I haven't personally found a great use for it, I'm sure it could come in handy for troubleshooting should the need arise. The only thing about this switch that I don't like is the placement of the PoE ports. On the UniFi Switch 8 60 watt, the 4 powered ports are on the right, but on this switch the powered ports are on the left. This becomes problematic if you have a fixed patch panel like I do. Because of this, I had to re-punch down my cable runs when upgrading from the 8-port switch, which felt like a pain and felt like it shouldn't be necessary. People with a Keystone patch panel, however, probably will not have as much trouble as me since these ports on the Keystone panel can easily be rearranged. Okay, so I'm just going to finish up by showing you how to configure the switch in the UniFi controller. So let's go ahead and head to the UniFi controller and log in. Alright, we can go ahead and dismiss this, and we'll go to Devices, and the switch. So you can see on this details page, you have a bunch of details like MAC address, model, board revision number, IP address, PoE power consumption, which is all of the PoE, the total draw from power over Ethernet. There's no temperature sensor. You can see the uptime, memory usage, and the CPU load. So all of this useful information for troubleshooting, or just if you want to go and look and see how your switch is doing, you can definitely do that. Uplink, you can see I have mine plugged into the USG, and downlinks, which is basically connections, wires that terminate at the switch, and at the other end go to devices that can offer connections to more clients, so access points and switches, for example. So you can see my kitchen access point, guest room access point, and bedroom switch are all connected as downlinks. So here you also get another screen of clients. So if you've directly hardwired a client into the switch, you can get it here. And you can also see it splits up corporate network versus guest network, which is just part of the whole UniFi ecosystem. So you do get that. and individual port configuration. And this is when Ubiquiti's solution starts to really shine. So let's go ahead and configure port number 9, which has nothing plugged into it. That's why I'm configuring it. So you can see right here, if I want to turn off the port, all I have to do is click this drop down and click disabled and click apply. Now let's say I want to enable it but only on a specific VLAN. Let's say guest. All I have to do is click that drop down and click guest and apply. And it's done. And if I want to make this like a trunk port, I just do all. So this is a lot more simple than how Netgear's VLAN configuration is. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just disregard this part. So on a Netgear switch, you have to configure what VLANs you want to. So first, you have to create the VLAN, and then you have to configure what you want to tag on each port, and then you have to configure the PVID, which is, it's a real pain, it's a real hassle, and this is just a lot more simple, a lot more elegant, and still gets the job done. So it's great. Here you have some miscellaneous options. So like I named my switch Garage. You have some options relating to the screen. Management VLAN. So this is the VLAN that your switch's management IP sits on. So mine's obviously on my management VLAN, which is just VLAN number 1. You can enable jumbo frame, flow control. You have your spanning tree protocol options here. 802.1x security. And you have the standard Ubiquiti, forget the device and force provision it and all that kind of stuff here. So here, this is a really cool feature, the remote terminal feature. Unfortunately, I haven't actually gotten it to work, even though this is a direct, I'm not going behind a reverse proxy or anything, and it's on the same VLAN. I'm not entirely sure why it's not working, but I could never get that to work. But if it does work, that would be a very cool feature. And then lastly, you have some statistics to your switch. So you have your CPU graph and a memory graph, just a line graph over time. So yeah, all in all, a very complete feature set for configuration, and obviously is completely compatible with all the other functions of the UniFi controller, which I haven't gone over right now. There's just too much to go over in this video. Maybe I'll save that for another video. But anyway, I hope this video helped. I hope it was useful. And if it was, please drop a like, subscribe, and if you have any ideas for the video or any ideas of what I should do differently in this video, go ahead and leave a comment, because all of that will go to improving my next ones. Thank you. Bye.